What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joey Work back from Run Pure Bets. I'm back. Countdown to MLB still continues. 4 days. This Thursday, the season begins. I'm excited, but we're doing another division preview here. This is 5 of 6, only one more to go. We're doing AL Central today. I got another guest. He goes by the name of Joe Frantasy, huge baseball guy, formerly worked in minor league baseball, and is a killer in all fantasy sports. He does love his value and future bets as well. So this guy bet the Bucks to win the whole thing in the NFL before the season started at 29-1. I mean, he cashed that. Plus, he just welcomed a new baby into the world early this week. So first off, congrats to him and the fam for that. And thanks for making some time for us. What's up, Joe? How you been, buddy?
Of course, man. It's a pleasure being on with a legend like yourself. I'm super excited to be there. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Definitely a little longer than deserved, but I appreciate it.
My guy. All right, well, let's get right into it. So today, obviously, we're talking about AL Central. This division is kind of up for grabs. You know, 3 teams made the playoffs last year, but we'll start with the defending champs in the Minnesota Twins. Let's get started with the rotation. Kenta Maeda, you know, he proved to be a great signing from the Dodgers. He was 4th in the AL Cy Young last year and showed his willingness to throw all 4 of his pitches, both to lefties and righties. He had a career low in exit velocity and led the majors in that category. Berrios, he's a solid number 2 option. He's pitched well in spring training, 2.63 ERA in 4 starts. Then we kind of get some question marks. Big Mike Pineda is slotted in for the number 3 spot. He's a hit-or-miss guy, really, struggling in spring with an ERA over 7. Then we got J.A. Happ, former Yankee, 38-year-old lefty. He's slated as the number 4 starter. He's on the back end of his career. He could lose that starting rotation spot basically at any time, go to the bullpen, be a long reliever, even get cut possibly. And then number 5 is looking like vet Matt Shoemaker. Possibly Uber driver Randy Drubnik, Devin Smeltzer could steal some starts down the line, but they're starting in the bullpen, looks like. The Twins have continued to build great relievers in that bullpen. They did lose Tyler Clippard, Zach Liddell, Trevor May, Sergio Romo, and Matt Whistler, all in free agency. Closer Taylor Rogers can be the best, basically, to count on for closers. He does pound the zone, barely walks anyone, so that's something you got to like. But this team does get Alex Colomé over from the division rival Chicago White Sox. He should be the setup man and could possibly take up the closer role, but he doesn't strike out many people. Tyler Duffy, one of the best curveballs in baseball. He's still in the pen. He's got opponents to swing at 40% of pitches outside the strike zone last year. This team has been working on Jorge Alcara. His mechanics unlocking. He has unlocked triple digit in his fastball. And then names like Cody Stashik, Hansel Robles should round out a decent pen. The lineup's still impressive. Jorge Polanco has been hurt each of the last 2 years. He's hurt again right now, and he's a liability on defense, but they do still trust in him. Luis Arraez, he should play a lot. He's a great hitter, but and he barely extends his zone. He doesn't really swing at any pitches outside the zone. Josh Donaldson's obviously back. He's been injury prone all his career, and he is a great defender, but when he's healthy, he can hit. When he's healthy, it just isn't going to be healthy. Obviously, Nelson Cruz back, 40 years old. He's also hit 37 home runs in his last 6 full seasons. So this guy can still hit as well, but he is getting up there in age. Miguel Sano, he struggled last year. Strikeout rates have been abysmal. They let Eddie Rosario walk in the offseason, so the outfielders starters look to be led by the young duo of Max Kepler and Byron Buxton, who could be the best defensive center fielder in baseball. They do have prospect Alex Kirilloff, who is balanced lefty, but he lacks some on the defensive end, but I assume he will get called up and play a good amount. And then they still have Mitch Garber, who struggled at the plate last year, and Ryan Jeffers at catcher, who has good plate discipline and showed his power last year. So all in all, I think it's unlikely this core basically stays in place for much longer. Some players approaching free agency, others are clearly past their prime. Plus 120 to win the AL Central is not a bet for me. 89.5 win total is really high for me. They got to win 90 games. This starting pitcher staff is basically all in question. 3-4-5 is all in question. I personally like the under on 89.5 wins, and I'll be betting on it. Joe, what do you think about the former champs in the Minnesota Twins?
Yeah, it's such an interesting division, like you said. I first want to give a shout to Randy Dubnik, who got that big extension today. You drive in an Uber, and all of a sudden, this guy's getting this long-term deal. I'm not sure it's a crazy deal for either side, but good for him. I guess my main take is that you know me. I love the futures, but I like the high values, and a lot of this division. I don't see it in the, in those areas. Obviously, over-unders, you're never going to get a big value anyway. You're only getting that close to even, maybe the minus 120s, depending on if it's an over or whatnot, and they want to push you that direction. But I think that I'm leaning towards under, but I almost feel like that with a lot of the top teams in this division. So it's a weird feel where it might be who gets out to that early start and they just coast the rest of the way. I'm like I said, I'm leaning a little bit under. My actual main piece that I like when it comes to the Twins themselves is Maeda. You mentioned him earlier. I think at 20-1 for Cy Young, he could be a good flyer there. I think he's one of the best pitchers in the American League. His advanced statistics last year were off the charts. And obviously it was a small sample size, hard to, go over the whole 162. But I think Maeda was someone that was just kind of fell victim to the Dodger fix of, okay, you're only pitching 5 innings. This is what it is. He's got such an array of pitches. The guy's nasty. And I think he's got the real value from the Twins side when it comes to an early bet.
All right, I like it. I know that I had Kenta Maeda on my fantasy team last year. I didn't keep him. Now you're making me maybe regret that decision. But I guess we'll have a bidding war in our auction draft tomorrow for him.
I'll snag him from you, Jeff.
All right, so let's get to now the next team. The division favorite, according to the odds makers, is the Chicago White Sox. They recruited 76-year-old Tony La Russa out of retirement to come coach this team. This team, it's pretty funny. Before I get into it, but we did a cameo and got Tony La Russa to do the cameo, and he was at spring training. And I think his age is really getting to him. He said the same thing twice. And he was telling me, hey, look, I'm really at spring training here. And he's showing the video of it. And then he's going on. It's supposed to be a 40-second video. And he's going on for 5 minutes. We had to cut the video, whatnot. And 5 minutes later, he's like, hey, just to show you, I'm at spring training.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I had the video editors. I'm like, we need to cut this to 30 seconds. It's 5 minutes long. But he was showing his rings and everything. It was pretty funny. But he's obviously excited. This team did have the best record in the AL last year with 14 games to play, but they faded after clinching the playoff spot. They lost their opening series, obviously, to the A's. They did add Lance Lynn from the Rangers. He looks to be the number 2 or 3 starter for this team. He's a guy I kind of like. He's a strike machine, always pitches deep into games. Obviously, Lucas Giolito, number 1, proved that his 2019 season wasn't a fluke. He allowed only 47 hits in 72 innings, had a no-hitter versus the Pirates last year. Dallas Keuchel is probably the 3 starter or 2, maybe 2. He made a smooth adjustment from the Braves, had a 1.99 ERA in 2020. Dylan Cease has good stuff, but he has shown the ability to not throw strikes. Then it looked like Carlos Rondon will be the number 5 starter entering camp. Michael Kopech, who is someone I'm pretty high on, he's supposed to work out of the pen. And he also hasn't pitched since 2018. He missed 2019 with Tommy John, and he opted out last year. But he's 6'3" and throws very, very hard. Obviously, as I mentioned before, Alex Colomé is gone. He saved 42 games the last 2 years for this team. They replaced him with Oakland's closer, Liam Hendricks, who projects for at least 30 saves this year. Lefty Aaron Bummer is probably going to be the setup man. He has a really good hard slider. Garrett Crochet, another lefty, looked overpowering when he got called up last year in September. Cody Hewer, they have a tall righty. He hits almost 100 regularly, struck out more than a batter per inning last year. They have Evan Marshall, Jimmy Cordero, and Jace Fry, who are currently hurt, but they should pitch meaningful innings down the stretch for this team. The lineup obviously is scary. Tim Anderson has emerged as one of the best shortstops in the game. Last year he tied for AL lead in runs scored, and he was second in batting average. He posted career highs in on-base percentage and slugging percentage. Nick Magraball, he won the second base job, and he is an on-base machine. Jose Abreu obviously re-signed in the offseason with the team, reigning AL MVP, led the league in slugging, total bases, hits, and RBIs. So the White Sox did commit to long-term deals with Eloy Jimenez, who just got hurt, and Luis Robert before they could reach arbitration in the offseason. Both are sidelined right now, and Eloy probably misses the entire year. I'm seeing maybe he returns in September. Robert hit almost 300 last year, 10 homers, 24 RBIs. They did bring back Adam Eaton, who comes back over from the Nationals, where he spent 4 years. He's an elite defender, but he always has question with his health. Yohan Mikado, primed for a bounce-back season after struggling last year in the shortened season. And Yasmani Grandal, he has some pressure on him because coach is looking for him to catch 120 games after James McCann joined the Mets. But after 7 straight losing seasons, the White Sox emerged as a talented group last year, and they won. They made the playoffs. The expected improvement from this young core should make them, a division foe. They're obviously the odds makers are making them the best team in the division. They are also past the Yankees. They're the favorite to come out of the AL, even still at plus 370. I'm seeing minus 110 on them to win the division. That's not a number I like. Team total is 90.5, which again, as you mentioned too, I kind of lean under because there's so much parity in this division. I don't really want to take it. But what do you think about the White Sox, Joe?
Yeah, so I'm leaning under also. But one thing that I do want to say, you said that nice story about Tony La Russa earlier, and I keep thinking when I think of Tony La Russa, I think old school baseball, and you have this really crazy young team and a guy that's losing his mind out there telling you stories multiple times. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic, how he works with them. He was such a legend, but I think also it's kind of a no-brainer for him. A team with this much young talent comes to them and they say, "Hey, we want you to take this job." He's like, "All right." It's like Urban Meyer, "Oh, you want a job with Trevor Lawrence as your QB? Okay, maybe I will try the NFL." I think that's really an interesting piece. If that gels well, I think they go and they get the max potential because he's always been able to maximize the Cardinals back in the day, and I think he can do that again. Now, that being said, I want to take 2 steps back. I think that's part of the reason why this team and a lot of their players are odds and betting darlings. You see them all over the place. Everyone's looking at these guys as values. People like Giolito as a Cy Young potential candidate. Very, very well could be. But I'm a little worried. Eloy is a huge loss out of the middle of that lineup. He was one of the highest on the AL MVP charts, and for a good reason. Now, that being said, I think that offers some opportunity for you on a couple of the other bets around. One thing I also want to mention, just relative to I'm kind of on the underside like you, is Colomé. I mean, I'm someone that's always been like, he seems like he's going to implode at any moment. Last year, he had an under 1. He's nuts. He was nuts last year. So even though they got pretty much the best closer in the game or one of the best closers in the game to fill his shoes, he can't do any better than how well Colomé did. And Colomé went to the division rival that they need to try to beat. So I'm not sure that really helped enough. I do think that Bummer and Hendricks is a great 1-2 punch at the end. And like you mentioned, Crochet, he's lights out, it seems like. If he can really get it all together, throw strikes, they're going to be in really good shape. But the values that I see that I really like as potentials, I really like the rookie of the year side of things. So they have 2 really solid rookies. You mentioned them both. Madrigal, 18-1. On Base Machine, Andrew Vaughn, FanDuel, 10-1. Both of them get bumped up 1 spot in the order without Eloy. And especially if they start hitting early in the season, right up to the top of the order, you're going to see these guys. So I think that if one of them starts off hot, you're going to see their number go immediately right to the top. I think that's where there's some good value here for betting. My other one, you mentioned him. He's just a sure thing. Jose Abreu. I kind of like him for most hits. I'm not someone that goes for the guys that are going to be 9-1, 10-1, 12-1 in that kind of a category because it's just, you're kind of saying like, oh, this guy's definitely going to take it. I like to go for someone that I know is going to hit for average. And if he can make it through the season, which this guy has shown he is as durable as they come, he's got a shot. So I like that idea. 29-1 is a big number for me. He's like 12th down on the list, 12th down on the list. I like that idea. I mean, this is most in baseball, not most hits in an AL. So I just want to be sure to mention that. Obviously, with Rookie of the Year, you're talking about just one league. But I think there's some value there. So that's another one that I'd keep an eye on.
Awesome. Look at Joe bringing the exotics. Love it, bro. Appreciate it. So shout out to chat, though. Deer Slayer Ski, Willie Parker, Yego, Twatty Lottie. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Hit the like button. Send in any questions if you have, and we'll try to answer them. So third in division, let's move on, is the Cleveland Indians. The Indians enter this year after 8 consecutive winning seasons, but they enter this season with the lowest payroll in the league, a little less than $50 million. They declined options on Carlos Santana and Brad Hand. They traded the face of the franchise, Francisco Lindor, and Carlos Carrasco. The offense past Jose Ramirez was bad last year. In his 23 games, he had 366, 10 homers, 24 RBIs. Cesar Hernandez won his first Gold Glove, and he looks to slate in second base. Terry Francona basically said that Andres Jimenez will be the starting shortstop. He's played very good this spring. At first base, there's basically a question mark for the Indians. Jake Bauers, Josh Naylor, and prospect Bobby Bradley will all vie for the spot. Bradley has power, but is strikeout prone and not very good in the field. DH Franmil Reyes worked out at first base during the offseason as well, but it's unlikely to see if we'll actually see him there. Top prospect Nolan Jones, a third baseman by trade, is also working out at first base in the outfield. They did sign also Eddie Rosario over from the Twins, who will be an everyday player if he can stay healthy. Roberto Perez and Austin Hedges are two of the best defensive catchers in the league, but they both struggle at the plate. The bench has the likes of Ahmed Rosario from the Mets, Oscar Mercado, Jordan Lublow, and Bradley Zimmer, who's very fast, had an 88.9 success rate on his steals since 2017. The rotation is looking a little different. They traded away Trevor Bauer, Corey Kluber, Mike Clevenger, and Carlos Carrasco since 2019. They still have a pretty decent rotation, though. Bieber, obviously, AL Cy Young, 8-1, 1.63 ERA last year. He was lights out. Zach Plesac and Adam Savali are already established in the big leagues. They should continue to improve. Zach has a 44% strikeout rate on his slider. And then they got Tristan McKenzie, a top pick in the 2015 draft. He finally made his major league debut last year and is slated to be the number 4 starter. Number 5 will either be Cal Quantrill or Logan Allen. So it looks like James Karinchuk is going to replace Brad Hand as a closer. He throws hard, strikes out about 50% of righties he faced. He has a great curveball too, but he does have control issues. If he struggles, it's looking like Nick Wingreen or Emmanuel Klaas will get their chance at closer. Klaas was part of the Corey Kluber trade. He didn't pitch last year because of injuries and a positive PED test, but he should be back this year. And then they re-signed 39-year-old Oliver Perez and have Brian Shaw and Blake Parker to round out the pen. End of the day, the Indians have avoided rebuilding for a long time, but it looks like the time has come now. I really think this team – I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if this team was last in the division. No joke. I'm not high on this team at all. I think they could probably sell people before the deadline as well if they start off really bad. Plus 750 to win the AL Central. I want no part of that. Over under 81.5 games. I lean under here. I have them winning 76 games in my projection. So I definitely like the under again. But, Joe, what are your thoughts about the Indians?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm rocking the hat.
I see that.
So I got to support them a little bit here. I think that they have a little bit of hidden potential in there. As a Mets fan, I saw a lot out of Andres Jimenez last year that I really liked. Now, is he Francisco Lindor? Not one bit. Can they definitely, if they start off a little slow, drop behind and then sell off the rest of the pieces that they have in place? 100%. They definitely very well could. But I kind of think they could hover around that 81 win mark and end up being a payout on the positive side and in the over side. I have them around 83 wins, which I think that could be keep them alive in the running for the division throughout the whole entire season, which will prevent them from trading away those key pieces. I do like Eddie Rosario as an addition. I know you mentioned him. Obviously, him and Jimenez, they don't fill the void for Lindor. And as you mentioned, losing those 3 major starting pitchers since 2019 and obviously Carlos Carrasco in that Lindor deal is a tough loss. That's a tough thing to fill. But I do think that they have some hidden potential early in the season. Francona is an amazing manager. He always maximizes talent. He gets a lot out of this group. I actually think that this could be a good team to bet early. And I think that guys like Plesac, guys like Savale, who haven't had good springs, but have that upside potential, could be guys that actually are on the underdog side these first games out the gate and actually end up being where they're favored a lot of times as you make your way through the season. So not only just like daily fantasy, but also when you're looking at these games early on, may it be just the first 5 innings, trying to get the Indians and hoping that it holds, or, betting on it again as the game gets a little bit later. I actually like them as potential to start the season off, and people be like, oh, Are they still okay? Did they get it? Did they get enough? Is Francona manager of the year here? I actually think that there's some potential. I don't know if I would bet anything. The one thing that I do think is potentially value is Franmil Reyes as a home run champ. So he's at 35-1 on FanDuel. I actually really like that idea. If he's playing every day as a DH, doesn't have to really wear down his body, I think he could be a 55 home run guy. And obviously that's not said lightly, especially with the ball changes here. Could be hard to have that kind of, but his exit velo is he rockets those balls and they are way out. So I think he's got some potential. So that's where I would land. I wouldn't necessarily bet the team for long term, but I think that maybe early on they could give you a little bit of hidden value as some of the other teams try to find their identity, where Francona will kind of guide them towards an identity, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you know what? I do like that, because thinking back on it, last year I definitely backed the Indians first. I backed them a lot first 5 unders, because they were having a lot of trouble hitting. And obviously, as we mentioned, they have good pitching, starting pitching. So depending on the matchup, that's probably something I'll go back to as well. But, even taking them on the first 5, them plus a half on the first 5, if they're underdog, you probably get that almost at even money, depending on, or money line. Yeah, you make a great point there. All right, cool. So we'll go on to the next team, who I think will surprise some people this year, Kansas City Royals. They have a solid rotation, left-hand dominated, by back end by a gas-throwing bullpen, basically. The pitching is the strength of the farm system as well. Big names in Asa Lacy, Daniel Lynch, Jackson Kowar. They're all waiting in the wings. Top four in this rotation is set. Brad Keller, 5-3, 2.47 ERA last year. He's been a revelation with the Royals, basically. Lefty, they signed Mike Minor, resurrected his career in the offseason. He signed a 2-year, $18 million deal. And this is another guy, like Lance Lynn, that just eats innings. Danny Duffy, he'll be the number 3 starter. He needs to limit his walks and is in the last year of his contract. Number 4, looking like Brady Singer. He showcased the potential as a rookie last year, and he had the 4th highest ground ball rate at 53.1%. Jake Junis is looking like he's going to break camp as the number 5 starter after an impressive spring showing. He has an uptick in his velocity as well. And then I have Chris Bubik waiting, the 23-year-old, had a 2.96 ERA in 27 innings during his final 5 starts last year. He has a chance to start some games as well, but it's looking like he's not going to open the year in the rotation. The bullpen is definitely a strength of this team. They re-signed closer Greg Holland on a 1-year deal. He's a seasoned closer, and he has 2 fireballs as setup men with him in Josh Stumont and Kyle Zimmer. Jesse Hahn has a sick curveball as well. Opponents had a 0.99 on-base percentage against him last year. Then they have Scott Barlow, who had 25 straight scoreless appearances in 2020. In addition, they added Wade Davis and rookie Carlos Hernandez. It will make this bullpen kind of sneaky good, I think. They need to add a lefty to the pen to really get over the edge, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Obviously, Alberto Mondesi starting shortstop, and the Royals really hope that he becomes a star. He started really bad in 2020, but over those last 22 games, he had 6 doubles, 2 triples, 6 homers, 19 RBIs, and 16 stolen bases. Paired with second baseman Nicky Lopez, the Royals have one of the top defensive middle infields in baseball. Hunter Dozier, who moved to first base last year, now appears to move back to third base to make room for newly acquired Carlos Santana, who they signed in a 2-year, $17.5 million deal. They bought basically low on him because he had bad numbers in the shortened season, but he did lead the AL with 47 walks, and from 2017 to 2019, he averaged 25 homers a year. Whit Merrifield, obviously, is a leadoff hitter. He can play outfield, second base. He's reliable, durable, versatile. He averaged 46 extra base hits and 24 steals over the last 4 years. Obviously, the team acquired Andrew Benintendi as well from the Red Sox. He'll slot right into the top of the lineup, projected for 15 homers, 70 RBIs. The outfield's looking like Michael Taylor, Francie Cordero, or Bubba Starling will round out that last position. And then Salvatore Perez, the catcher, had a monster 2020 and only played 37 games. He won his 3rd Silver Slugger Award, even got a vote for the MVP, 1 vote. He was named AL Comeback Player of the Year. He batted .333, 11 homers, and 12 doubles. Let's not forget about the big man in the middle, though, Jorge Soler. When he's healthy, he makes his lineup very scary. He led the AL with a franchise record 48 homers in 2019. He's entering his final year of his contract, so it should be a little extra motivation there. I think this team's pretty damn close to contending. They were on 70-win pace last year in the shortened season. I think they're better than projections have them. Plus 4,000 to win the division. I already bet a half unit on that. If I lose the half unit, it's worth it. If I win, I'm going to pick up 20 units. It's definitely worth it in my opinion. Over-under set at 74.5. I think that's fair. I have them at about 77 wins, almost 500. So I'm probably going to bet they're over as well. What do you think about the Royals, Joe?
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat as you. I like the Royals as well and the over. I'm not for too much of value in the sense of betting the over itself, but like you mentioned, the division bet, there's some real value there, and I'm almost hesitant to say you wait and see a little bit. I don't know if this team is going to automatically start off hot. If you wait a little while, maybe they drop a little bit more. Maybe one of those big name teams do start off really well and take them, a month into the season at 50 or 60, 55 maybe. That would be huge value. And as long as they look like they're reasonable and they're staying in games, maybe they keep losing close games and you're like, all right, is this team for real? Is it not? There's some potential here. I think there is. I also think you can't not mention their rookie phenom who's not going to start the season in the majors, but had a rock star spring training, Bobby Witt Jr., obviously son of former pro. I think he is going to be a superstar. I'm not sure if he's going to be in right away. But if let's say they're struggling a little bit to get the bats going and they decide, you know what, we're going to give him the call, we're going to get him up here, I think you could see a potential rookie of the year candidate with someone like him as well, and helps to push the team over the top. You look at their projections. You mentioned a couple projections before. You look at their projections down the lineup. It's not that pretty. So you understand why it's 74 is the number, but at the same time, there's a lot of pests in that lineup. It's like their old World Series team where you look at it and you're like, 260, 260, 250, 240. Oh, that guy hit some homers for sure. But they get on base. They work counts. You got Carlos Santana, Sally Perez if he's healthy. They could really be a pest to those top three teams. And I think they're a big reason why this whole division is going to be really lumped, is because they're going to get some wins that you probably don't expect them to get throughout the season, and it's just going to keep going. I do like the potential of the 25-1 Bobby Witt roll of the dice for rookie of the year, obviously because he's not starting the year in the majors. There's a little hesitancy to take that bet. I think people were hot on it when he was hot and thinking, let's jump on it before he makes the team. Now he hasn't made the team. They're like, maybe I shouldn't have done it. I still think there's potential there. So I definitely like that idea. I think they made some good quality additions. You mentioned Mike Minor as being, back in the fold, being a revolutionized pitcher. He knows how to pitch. And I think that could be a big boost to their rotation. I like them for about 79 wins. So I'm thinking that they're an over kind of team. And, it's always so easy to say the overs. You love to root for the extra wins and get those. And, somebody like me, I prefer unders, honestly. But seeing a team like this with the potential and the low threshold to hit, I kind of like the value.
Yeah, so we're both leaning over. I think this is the first one we both are in agreement with on an over. So, I definitely like the Royals. I know I was talking with Stevie from Run Pure Sports side, and he as well bet the Royals to win the division. We've just all of us see sneaky value on this team. And as you mentioned, with all the parity in this division, anything could happen. I'm thinking possibly, someone could win the division, 85 wins, you can win the division because anything could happen. But let's move on to the Tigers. So the Tigers, they finished last 3 of the last 4 years, but they didn't play terribly bad last year, especially with the arrival of some good prospect, Casey Mize, Tariq Skubal, Isaac Paredes, and Daz Cameron. So they did bring in A.J. Hitch to manage the team and keep the forward directory. But the rotation was a disaster last year. Had an MLB worst 6.37 ERA and 5.03 xFIP. There were some positives, though. Spencer Turnbull, who should return after the first series. I think he's out the first series of the year with COVID, I'm pretty sure it is. He established himself as a dependable rotation piece. Skubal and Mize are projected to start in the rotation, and they gained basically 2 solid months of experience last year. Number 1 starter, Matthew Boyd. He pitches, he had the 10th highest swinging rate outside the zone and 16th lowest contact rate. They added Julio Teheran, who will make the team out of the camp and looks like he's going to start in the rotation. He's an aging vet who, when he's on the hill, I'm going to look to fade him. Then they did sign Jose Urena from Miami as well on a 1-year deal in December, but the outlook on him isn't very high either. They do have top prospect Matt Manning, who should make the jump to the majors probably later in the year. The bullpen righty Joe Jimenez, he made the All-Star team in 2018 and 2019, but last year he had a nightmare year. He lost the closer role. Gregory Soto, the lefty, looks to break camp with the closer job, and he has a cannon. If he could work on his command, he could be pretty damn dangerous. But Brian Garcia was good as well out of the pen, but he didn't miss many bats. Buck Farmer, Michael Fulmer will also will be righty options for A.J. Hinch out of the pen. And then Daniel Norris and Tyler Alexander are some lefties. Will Castro and Nico Goodrum probably aren't suited to be everyday shortstop and second baseman, but that's where they ended in 2020, and that looks like where they're starting in 2021. Castro did break out at the plate in 2020, which makes him an intriguing hitter to watch this year. Candelario shifted to third base after they lost C.J. Cron, and he's projected for 20 homers, 70 RBIs this year. Obviously, Miguel Cabrera is still on this team rocking. He looks to be the starting DH. I don't expect him to play many games. I mean, he'll probably play about 90 to 100 games maybe. The team did sign Robbie Grossman to a 2-year deal, and this is the first guaranteed multi-year deal the team has handed out in 5 years. He's a switch hitter with a proven ability to get on base, and he can play all 3 outfield positions. Jacoby Jones was in the midst of a breakout season last year as well, and then he broke his hand in September. Plus, they added Nomar Mazara, who will likely play right field every day. Wilson Ramos will be the closer. He joined the Tigers as well and should provide some stability at the catcher position. If this team could get innings from their starting rotation, I actually see somewhat of an upside here. They're definitely trending in the right direction, that's for sure. But in this tough division, I'd be very surprised to see them win like over 75 games, that's for sure. Over-unders 67.5. I lean over, but I'm not fully confident enough in it to make the bet. Plus 5,500 to win the division. I'm not going to tell anyone to put their hard-earned money on that. But what's your output on the Tigers, Joe?
I feel very similar to you in regards to where I see them. I think I have them a little bit over as well. I think they're a 69-70 win team. So I'm there. I'm in the over camp, but I'm still just not totally sure. I think a key thing that you said before, if they can get their pitchers to start and get deeper into games, I don't think they will. I think they got a lot of young pitchers that they're going to want to baby. So even if they're having good days, they might only go 4 or 5 innings, especially in today's game. So I'm a little nervous. I think the 3 guys in the back end of the bullpen, I think the idea of Joe Jimenez actually getting blown up last year will be better for them. If you remember a few years back, he really was like borderline setup closer. And then he really took off and they were like, okay, we got to give the guy the job. And then it was like, all right, the year after he was and then all of a sudden he just got bamboozled last year every time he came out. So I actually think that him settling back into a 7th or 8th inning role might help to get him back into the groove. If he does end up, in a good position, I think they might start him in the minors potentially just to give him a little time to get back to his own self, get out of his own head. But I like Brian Garcia, Gregory Soto as, pieces. Like you mentioned, they were pretty good last year. And I think they have a decent combination between the two to get to close games if they actually have a lead. Obviously, if they have a lead, it's going to be very little. So a lot of close games, and maybe you get some good value out of those guys from a fantasy aspect. But there's just not too much to love here. I mean, there's not, like you said, Willie Castro's got some potential. If you get really great years from Jonathan Scope, you get really great year from Mazara, maybe they do hang in the 70, mid 70s, upper 70s, but that's kind of the max that I see, even with, some good upside from some of those younger pitchers. I think that they're still a couple years away. Like you said, they just haven't spent, but maybe when they get to those pitchers being at the top of their game, that will get them in the position where they spend and fill those gaps as they make their way forward.
Awesome. I just realized I'm wearing a Nationals hat. I was supposed to wear my White Sox hat. Oh my gosh. Hey, it's all good. But yeah, I mean, we're both, in sync with the bottom two teams. Well, I mean, not really the bottom two teams, but the last two teams we spoke about in the Tigers and Royals. And, as this division is just so much, there's so much up in arms here. Anything can happen really in this division. One key injury for the White Sox really could, bump them out. And then it's maybe a two-man race. I'm really not high on the Indians, but you think there will be a little better. So maybe it is. Anybody's really – the division's up for grabs for anybody. So, I mean, pretty interesting. Joe, I mean, thanks again, everyone, for hanging out. I know we got a couple decent amount of live viewers here and a lot of people in the chat. So I will be back tomorrow for the NL Central, another special guest. Joe, thanks for joining me. Any final parting words or best bets you want to give out to the people?
I think that my one big one, I'm going to bring it back around, is Franmil Reyes at 35-1 for the home run champ. I think I made it clear with the 55 home run bold prediction, but I really like that. I really like that idea. I like that bet. It's not a costly one necessarily. You can get a real good payout out of it. And my other piece is just follow Joey work. I mean, this man is lights out. He hits on bets all season long. So my big thing early in the season, bet the unders first 5 and look for values. Try to find the pitchers that you really like on different teams that maybe aren't there yet. If you like them for fantasy or you like them for your team, try to get those values out first, because once Vegas figures out that they are going to be what their potential is, then you're not getting that value anymore. So keep an eye on that. I do like the idea of the Indians early in the season. Like I was saying, try to follow Savali and possibly Plesac too. Like I said, they struggled a little bit in the spring. I think they had like 6 and 7 respective ERAs. So Vegas may start a little sluggish on them, knowing that they're not going to have the offensive backing. And I think they have some potential for you.
Awesome. All right, so my best bet is to take the Royals over 74.5 for this division, and or 74.5 wins, and then I'm also going to put a half unit on them to win the division right now at 40-1. If they win the division, they get lucky, win the division, we pick up 20 units. If not, you lose a half unit. It's not the end of the world, but I'm going to bet a full unit on them to win over 74.5 games. So those are my two best bets. I definitely, if you go back and watch the rest of the video, you'll hear the breakdown that me and Joe gave for every team. Before I get out of here, the video is sponsored by Sauce Bay Hot Sauce, all natural, low sodium, vegan friendly hot sauce. Was on season 9 of Hot Ones and was enjoyed by celebrities Kristen Bell, Trevor Noah, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Schoolboy Q, just to name a few. So if you go to saucebay.com, use promo code JoeyWork, you get a nice little discount. But hit the like button on the way out, guys. Join the team at Run Pure Bets. Obviously, baseball starts Thursday. You can sign up with a 25% discount. I'll be dropping plays on Thursday. I'll be dropping MLB plays every single day for the baseball season. I'll also be doing live shows, or not live, but I'll be doing doing the night before the game. So probably about 10 p.m. Eastern, I'll record my looks for the next day, and I'll probably be doing that at least 4 times a week. Probably once live on YouTube for non-subscribers to the public, and the rest will be all to subscribers. So it's really key to be a subscriber at Run Pure Bets. Baseball starts Thursday. You're not going to want to miss out on the money train. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks again, Joe. We're out of here. Peace.